Welcome to episode 469 of the Recruitment, Marketing and Sales podcast. And I'm your host, Denise Oyston. And happy May. I love May. We've got the flowers that come out, we've got the bedding plants. And in the UK, believe it or not, we have lots of holidays. We've got 2 bank holidays as well. How good is that? And what we're going to do across this month is run a series of podcasts about content. And the reason I want to do this is many people are refreshing what they're doing. They're wondering how content can help. They want it to improve their conversions. They need to stand out more in what is a challenging and competitive market. And we've had lots of questions about how content can help. So what I'm going to do is do quite a deep dive over the next 4 podcasts, all about content. This particular episode, I'm going to talk about exactly why it's your competitive edge. Next week, I'm then going to talk about understanding your audiences and creating content that resonates with employers, whether it resonates with candidates, because no matter what, whether you are really short of clients, you still need to do both types of content. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about building your content strategy, what you need to consider. And then finally, I'm going to talk about measuring success and a few other things that might be helpful. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Recruitment, Marketing and Sales podcast. An obsessive focus on marketing and sales is the only way to accelerate your company growth. So listen in now as we share the latest strategies and techniques guaranteed to deliver you more placements and profits. Well, hi there everyone. This is Denise. Hope you and yours are well. And I'm sitting here recording this on an amazing day in the UK. The sun is shining, and I'm doing my batching, walk your talk. I'm doing my batching for May's podcasts, and I'm recording them on the 30th of April, getting ahead. And today I want to kick off our series on content marketing and the relevance for recruiters. And as one of our lovely clients once said, the thing is, Denise, you don't know what you don't know. And making the connections about how content can help and where you can use content is very valuable. If you're new here, welcome. Great to have you. We appreciate all of our listeners. And if you appreciate some of this podcast, then give us a shout out on social, give us a review. We really, really appreciate it. And for those of you that are relatively new to marketing, or even if you've been doing marketing for a while, remember that we have our new scorecard, our candidate and client attraction scorecard that you can take. Have a look at where you are and get an assessment. And it's personalized to you. So there's a low, medium, high score, naturally. And there are some fundamental things you can do depending on which aspect you're excelling at or not. So if you go over to superfastrecruitment.co.uk/scorecard, SCORECARD, that will take you to a page. Just pop your name and email address in, fill out the questions, won't take you long, literally. Timing everybody that's going through it at the moment, it's literally anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes it will take to fill out, and you'll have a personalized scorecard. And we are more than happy to go through that with you. So let's talk about content, and let's talk about, we all love this, don't we? Let's talk about, this is not going to be a moan fest. Let's talk about the challenges that are going on in the market at the moment, that no matter what are not going to go away anytime soon, and how content can be used to work through these and actually help and support you. Now, I've always got my ear to the pulse on what is going on, and I like to validate things. And as I'm seeing, and my trusty Perplexity tool is helping me with, there are several challenges happening at the moment. You've got obviously intensifying skills shortages across the globe and in every sector. you've got rising turnover, you've got declining engagement, you've got longer hiring cycles and obviously increased costs for everyone. And you now have that tension between remote and hybrid work. AI is disrupting every single industry, and particularly in recruitment. And AI is positive in some ways, maybe not in others. There's an admin burden, isn't there, with recruiting? There's a lot of market uncertainty and economic uncertainty. Depending on when you listen to this particular podcast, just had President Trump and the whole tariff scenario that's going on. We've still got the Ukraine war. Looks like we're going to have a ceasefire over the weekend. Who knows? There's a trust and credibility deficit everywhere. There's candidate experience problems. And ironically, I was running this morning a training session for our Superfast Circle members. We have a personal branding boot camp that we run. People can access it all the time during the year, but our members love to do it live together as a group a couple of times a year. So I was running that this morning. And one of our focuses there was really talking about differentiation in a crowded market and standing out, where personal branding is more important than ever. So what I thought I'd do is just go through some of these areas and just give you a steer on where content could be used and how you might use it. And then obviously over the coming weeks, I'm going to talk more about really honing down into the types of content that you can use. So if you go on to any research tool, you go online, you go onto LinkedIn, a very common and validated data point is that 87% of companies are experiencing skills gaps in key areas this year. I think Manpower did the original study, and the situation only seems to be getting worse. And there are many, many factors for this. I think racking back on training people in the past is now coming home to haunt us. And this is obviously going to continue. Sharon was at an MPA conference recently, and someone was also sharing about the fact that the birth rate has gone down drastically. And that is really going to start to impact people in different ways. So remember that this skill shortage is not going away anytime soon. And the thing is as well, there's this whole evolution of the skills required. And LinkedIn creates a report. It's called the Work Change Report. And in its latest report, it predicts that the skills needed for jobs is going to change by up to 70% by 2030. And I know for many people, it's around that digital skills, that ability to work with software. But it's quite a challenge. And there's also this other phenomenon, I don't know if you've heard of it, called the new collar worker, which is the professionals who don't have a traditional degree, but they have incredibly specialized skills that we need to make the world work, and trying to find these people is sort of really challenging. So lots of problems there. And when people have problems, they go searching for knowledge and understanding. And that's where content can really help. Because imagine if you've got clients, you've got candidates looking for roles, and they come across your website and your recruitment website or your LinkedIn profile and posts, and they are reading educational content that adds value, content that helps them develop a talent pipeline, develop their branding, their employer branding, and it helps them sort of showcase industry knowledge and expertise from your perspective, then that will make them more likely to work with you than work with somebody else. If people get that you get them, and content can really help you do this, that makes a huge difference. And it helps then to position you as an expert in specific skill areas, because people then, well, these people know everything about hiring data analysts. These people know everything about hiring and building sales teams. So much benefit that you can give with literally some simple blog posts, some reports that share information about different things that are going on in the market, how to build a talent pipeline, some of the challenges that are going on. That's a real easy win when it comes to handling that skill shortage area. Now, let's talk about that increasing turnover and declining engagement that's happening. Now, be prepared to listen to some scary stats here. Apparently, and this has been validated, various different McKinsey reports, Deloitte reports, that 23% of workers are planning to quit the job this year. I don't think that's totally unrealistic. There's always going to be change. We're in volatile times. So generally, before the world went absolutely bonkers 5 years ago, then as an average, there was 10% turnover of staff anyway across the board. But that's increased. Now, here's something. Professional services sectors are experiencing a higher turnover rate than ever, well over the 50% mark. But here's something that I find awful, awful to read and awful for me to be communicating, that only 32% of employees are actively engaged. And I suspect for some of you, you're experiencing that at the moment. Remember, different generations have different views on work and the work environment and how it works for them. I'm a different age group. I'm very, very passionate about what I do. I always have been. And I always, people think I'm a bit weird and odd because I like working hard. Even now, after all these years, I still like working hard. And yet lots of people are very disengaged. The different generations, 32% of employees are disengaged and up to 15% of them are actively disengaged. So it's one nightmare situation. So how can content help those individuals? Well, for clients, how to engage and retain staff. Yes, a corporate organisation in theory should know how to do that, but some smaller SMEs really do not know how to do that. And you are recruitment consultants, you're recruitment experts. It is an idea and a suggestion that you would know how to help with that. So, how about retention focus content for clients, career development resources for candidates, culture building content, all of that improves the culture in organisation, and how to, I'm going to use that word, motivation is very intrinsic and it has to happen from an individual perspective. But there is so much that you can do with content when it comes to that challenge that many people are having. Now, when it comes to longer hiring cycles, that's something else. I just wanted to take a moment to connect with all of you amazing listeners. As you know, our podcast isn't sponsored and we pour our hearts into bringing you quality content for every single episode. Now, if you've been enjoying the show, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. You can find me at linkedin.com/Denise Oyston. That's Oyston. Just click that link. Let's connect. And also a quick reminder that sharing our podcast or giving us a shout out on social goes a long way to helping grow our community and getting the message out there to all of the small recruitment companies and staffing companies and search companies that want to do well. Your support does mean the world to us and it helps us to continue doing what we love. So thanks for being part of the journey. Now let's get back to that show. Now, recruitment, the process is becoming a lot more time consuming. Companies perceive it as expensive, though it's not. AI is entering the mix. Sometimes some companies are misinformed and they think that multiple companies pursuing the same role would be a better option for them. Of course, as a recruiter, you know that that isn't the case. And so here it's about really education again, thought leadership articles that you can post on your website and that you can post on LinkedIn about the best hiring practices, what works, what doesn't work. And people will come to you and listen to you. Top tip, make sure you do some personal branding so it helps you stand out. All of these things can really help. Candidate nurturing content that reduces time to hire, educational materials that streamline decision-making processes. All of these things, people will read them, people will watch videos, people will read posts on LinkedIn. So there's lots of things that you can do there that will really help. Now, remote and hybrid working, there's a huge tension going on in the market. In fact, only this morning, I opened a newsletter from somebody, a recruiter actually that I follow, and he was talking about his experience in the market at the moment, that there's a lot of tension going on. And sometimes, for some recruiters, they're having to say to candidates, look, what you're asking for now, you can't just flip-flop between jobs. We can't design the perfect role for you because this client wants everyone back in the office 3 days. This client is no longer offering remote working opportunities. Now, here, when it comes to content, I've shared one already with you, something that I'd read this morning, which was somebody posting a newsletter on LinkedIn. And, market intelligence reports on workplace trends. Several of our clients, as members of Superfast Circle, we write them for them every year, and they can use them, and they just need to add some elements in for their particular sector. But guidance for navigating hybrid work arrangements, candidate resources for successful remote work, and how to work well. So all of this, all of these are different content ideas that you can use. Now, AI is disrupting recruitment. There's a real shift in AI doing one or two things to doing lots of different things. There's a movement towards skill-based rather than credential-based hiring in the context of, has that person got the skills rather than do they tick all the boxes on this qualification. Now, here's the thing that's really important as well, because AI is great. I use AI. It creates summaries for me. I help it it helps me when I'm doing research for recording podcasts. I use it to transcribe things for me. Lots and lots of things that I use AI for. And some educational content on how AI can integrate in the hiring process. But also, really, really key, is actually getting that point across that there is a lot of human elements when it comes to recruitment that AI just can't replace, and guidance on what to look for, how to assess people, where to use AI, where not to use AI. Content can really help you educate your market as well. I was talking to a friend of mine that had suddenly just discovered ChatGPT and some of the things he thought he could do with it and what he could do with it and what he thought he could replace. And we had a conversation about it, and I explained a few things like, you are dealing with people here. Really made an impact for him, because it's very easy to get sucked in by all that. Oh, AI is wonderful. It can do X, it can do Y. And it is true. It can do a lot of things to help. However, it cannot do everything. Now, let's look at marketing uncertainty and all the things that are happening with the economy. We were talking to a great client of ours the other day that obviously has links with the US. This is a UK client, and they've just paused their recruitment efforts till the market settles a bit and they know what's going to happen with all these tariffs and everything else. Now, for this particular client, that is a pause in almost 50K of her business, which is quite significant for anybody to take that hit, no matter what your turnover is. So you can see that companies are often hesitant to hire as they reassess everything that's happening. Obviously, in the UK, there's a lot going on around, obviously, contributions and all of these things. that are not helpful. And it's very hard with something that I talked about earlier, the report from LinkedIn. How do you assess what your future skill requirements are going to be when the market is so volatile? And content here, again, people will look to you as recruiters to understand what's happening from a recruitment perspective, market analysis reports, economic trend forecasting, all of those things, salary surveys, salary guides, all of that can make a real difference. And they're not. You have your ear to the ground. There are plenty of research tools now that mean you don't have to spend 2 days on Google analyzing everything. You can go out and get a great AI tool to go and do really, really deep research for you. Then obviously you need to make value judgments from it that you then share with people. But there is a lot that you can be helped with. Now, here's a challenge that content can so help with. It's something that we work a lot with our clients on, because we tend to work with recruiters that are really good at what they do. They've just not been out there. Marketing's not been on the radar, because at the moment there is a big trust and credibility deficit. There is. Traditional recruitment is viewed with a little bit of cynicism by companies, and more skepticism than ever, both from clients and from candidates. I had a friend of mine contact me that worked in the pharmaceutical industry, and it's just fascinating that she was actually contacting companies and people, and this is somebody who's actually very good at what they do, and no one was getting back to them. And so, it was just like, she was being sent for a role. We said, well, that's not my therapy area. I don't want to work in that area. So that trust and credibility thing is a real issue for people. But here's where content can really help. Case studies, testimonials, being really sort of like transparent with your process. And, those I'm using that word thought leadership. I know it was very trendy years ago. Then it went off point. But you know what? It really does explain. You're a thought leader in your market. You can share things that people need to know and understand when it comes to trust and credibility. And we all know that when you read something and you think, that person really knows what they're talking about, I think that's the sort of person that we should be working with. I've just alluded to something that comes up in this next section, which is around candidate experience. That candidate experience where they're sent for the wrong jobs or nobody hears back from them. And it's really easy to have an email campaign, attached to when somebody uploads a CV with some really useful content that can have a totally different experience and impact on that candidate, that then they think, well, even though I didn't get the job, this company treated me better than anyone else has. Because, what is it? The latest data that I've read is that quite often it's approaching 40% of candidates are applying to more jobs, but they're hearing back less. ATS systems creating these black holes where nobody gets back to them, so many things. But imagine all the different candidate experience content that you could use, ideas on how to apply, how to work with an ATS system, expectation setting, so many different things that content can help you with in that scenario. Now, the other thing, just to finalize today around content, is differentiation in a crowded market. I'm on a little group it's not a little group, I think there's about 100,000 women in it, on Facebook, and someone posted a question yesterday about market saturation. And I'm a great believer there's no such thing as market saturation. We've got 8 billion people on the planet. Hang on a minute here. The thing is, though, there are a lot of people, and people choose to work with different individuals because of what they see, hear, and experience. And so standing out in a market where people, in theory, have similar offerings, I think that's another podcast for me to create as well, because when did you last update your offer, can be challenging because you've got to, articulate your own unique value proposition why people should work with you. Content can help you so much in that. Here's the thing. There are approaching, I think, 900 million people on LinkedIn. I'm using LinkedIn as an example here. And of those 900 million people, then there are less than 4% of people that post. So hopefully you have been encouraged. The penny has dropped that if you posted just a bit more, there's a fair chance that you are going to get out and in front of your market. And remember, I recorded a podcast 2 or 3 weeks ago about don't go for the vanity metrics, go for the impressions that are happening. Because if you have got a voice, you've got the knowledge and experience, you've been doing it for so many years and doing it incredibly well, you just need to start sharing that a bit more. And you can do that through lots of value add content, giving tips, giving bits of advice. And, I often say to people, if someone sat down and listened to all of our podcasts, they probably never need to work with us because all the information is there. We give a lot of our best stuff away. Obviously, we can't talk to people individually, so that's a lot of the time where people come and work with us. But you imagine that you are posting, you're helping, you're giving specialised industry insights, you've got success stories, you're highlighting your unique approach, all of these things. Content can make a huge difference when it comes to standing out in a crowded market. So I've given you some of the challenges that we've got in the recruitment sector. They aren't going to go away anytime soon. Definitely not going to go away within the next year or two. And how can you handle it? So how can you make a difference with the content that you share? So next week, we're going to do a deeper dive into looking at different content for different people, some of the things that you might want to consider. So this is Denise saying bye for now, and I'll see you next time. If you enjoy this podcast and this year you are ready to take your marketing to the next level, then check out Superfast Circle. This is a unique marketing program designed specifically for recruiters and their marketeers. You get access to 2 virtual marketing directors, you get consultancy, you get your hand held through the whole process, training, consulting, and we provide content resources. So go over to superfastrecruitment.co.uk /join and check out what's available.